Hello. Welcome to day 3 of how to make money with email. I almost lost track of time. I'm just having so much fun talking about email and sharing ideas with you. And you have come back again. You are a glutton for punishment. Either that or you need to get a life, one of those two things. But I appreciate it. I'm glad you're here. Uh, let's talk about, today it's going to be a weird technical day. My camera is normally over here. It's not working, so I'm going to be talking to here. Sometimes I'm going to be looking over here while I'm running slides. So it's going to be weird. Like most of my dates in high school, it's kind of awkward. So it's going to be like that. Let's talk about you, though. How'd it go? Anybody get anything done? Anybody launch anything? Well, we got people nodding. What does that mean? Okay, I need to hear. All right.
Yes.
Yes, there was a yes. Lucy, tell me about it.
That was a yes.
Okay, what'd you do?
Yeah. So I've got 3 out of the 5 emails set up on ConvertKit, and I've got the form in my site. Sorry if you can hear my dog going nuts. That was well timed. And I've used code snippets to put it site-wide. So
Okay.
Anyway, I'll ask it later when you get into the pop-up thing about whether I should use that with the Raptive highlight thing or use another option. But yeah, I think it's fine. I've used ConvertKit before, and it's so brilliant actually compared to MailerLite, which I have been using. So I'm pleased.
Good. Have you gotten any subscribers yet?
Oh, it literally went live about 15 minutes ago, so
okay.
I'm guessing no.
Well, you got it done. You snuck it in under the wire. I love it. Thanks so much for sharing, and keep us posted on how it goes.
Yeah, will do.
Anybody else want to brag?
Mine is launched. I think I had a pretty easy switch out because I had another series in place. It was not following like a proper technique or structure, but I set it live like an hour and a half ago, and already the signups are coming in faster than with what I had before.
Okay, that's what I like to hear. Usually I put something out there and yeah, I did it and nothing happened, Mullen. So what are you talking about? No, that's great. Congratulations. Let's keep an eye on that and see how it's going. That's fantastic. I love it. See, we can do things. We can do things fast. We can crank them out. And Anne is close to launching, or well, she is switching. And Olivia launched. Have you got any subscribers yet?
No, not yet. I did it in the evening last night. So
Okay.
Usually
Would
my
you have
audience
expected?
comes. Yeah. Usually my audience sort of picks up during daylight hours. So
Okay.
I'll keep an eye on it.
Danae is still figuring out MailerLite. All right. I believe in you. Fantastic. Joe's close to launching. Manali is just thinking about it. She's like, maybe I'll have lunch first. I don't know, perhaps. Once I decide pop-ups today, Sam, okay. All right. Cool. Love it. Updated mine with your feedback. Just relaunched it. Excellent. Rosemary, fantastic. Melissa taking her time too. We all work at our pace. That's okay. That's great. I'm thrilled. I really am. I'm excited for you all. So now that we've got people, hopefully, what's going to happen is we're going to start getting people onto our list. Now, what do we do? I'm going to share my screen here. Everything is moved around today, so I'm making this up as I go. Up to this point, you ideally have created your quick start guide or in process. And I know that, by the way, many of you are watching recordings. We have people all over the globe and some people that work during the day and whatever. So appreciate you following along. If you're struggling or you're stuck, let me know. But hopefully you've gotten these out there. You're starting to capture new subscribers like Ari is. We now need to decide what to do with these people. Okay. So what I'm going to talk about today, this graphic that I spared no expense on creating this graphic. I think it's going in one of the Washington, D.C. museums of art. It's groundbreaking, but you got people coming in through your quick start guide or save this recipe or some other bonus PDF you've got. and they're getting onto your list. What we're going to talk about today is what do we send them? And the first thing I want to share with you is a concept that I call the Forever Series. You may have heard this term. I coined this term probably, well, I mean, before I started doing this full time. It was even in my first course, and I went and spoke at different conferences and started talking about it because it was working so well for me. And I've used it both in blogging and I've used it in e-commerce. You can use this anywhere, anytime. This is the glory of email. And it is this technique that will allow you to put your very best content on autopilot. That's what I meant by email on autopilot. A lot of folks, use that term autopilot for lots of different things. But what I meant is let's deliver your best content in the right order that makes sense. And you set it up one time and you don't have to mess with it too much. This gentleman here, his name is James Clear. Some of you are familiar with James Clear and have read his book called Atomic Habits, I would suspect. I started following James in 2017, well before he launched Atomic Habits. And he was writing back then about self-improvement through goal setting and habits. And I signed up for his list in, I guess it was around July of 2017. And I started getting this great stuff from him, weekly emails that were just spot on and really helping me overcome all my issues. And I went back, when I would get these, as the reader, what this looks like to me is that James sat down on whatever day of the week, on Wednesday, and typed up an email and hit send. It's all new to me. I am something of a Sherlock Holmes fan, so I put on my Sherlock Holmes outfit, complete with the hat and the glasses and the pipe, and I looked into every single one of these emails that James had sent me. And the content, where did it originate? When did it originate? Look what I found. The first two emails in the sequence are these two down here. That's some sort of welcome. But then the very, the biggie, this forget about setting goals, focus on this instead. It's habits, by the way. He had originally written that post in October of 2013. Then the next one was a year old, had been written in 2016. He did squeeze in some new content, but then 2015, 2016, 2015, and previously in 2017. Who does this guy think he is? He's pawning off all his old stuff on me. He has got a lot of nerve. Well, the reality is, it's all new to me. I had to really dig to figure out when that stuff went out. Put this in perspective, his book continues to be a bestseller today in 2024. And it's talking about the same stuff that he originally was blogging about over 10 years ago. His content is evergreen. So I want you to think about this. Somebody discovers you like they discovered James. They like what they see. They sign up for your newsletter through one of the tactics that we're sharing here. And then every week, they see great content from you. Every one of those emails brings you back to the website, back to your social media channel of choice, back to your YouTube-ish, whatever. Over time, they become a fan. This is how they start to tell all their friends and buy all your stuff, and this is when you get the private yacht, okay? It's through the Forever Series. I have got a little hyperbole here, but the coolest thing to ever hit email, all this is an automated sequence. You've heard this called perhaps a nurture sequence in the past. The difference here is that it doesn't have to end. All we're doing is we're thinking ahead, and we're anticipating our readers' questions, and we're providing them answers before they ever think to ask. Every one of us has that type of content. So what you do is you figure out what's your most important content. What's the order in which those messages should be sent out. And then you get to decide on the timing. How frequently should this go out? Should it go weekly, every monthly? In your case, it should be weekly, minimum. And when something new comes to play, we can just insert it in the right spot in this order, in this in this series, okay? So specifically, what do we do with that new Blockbuster article? All right, we can put it here at the end of the content. All right, we can put it all here. Or maybe it's so important it needs to go at the beginning. We stick it in here. Or maybe we just put it in the middle. Or maybe we realize that stuff needs to be reordered a little bit. We can move things around inside the series. Or one starts to stink, we just get it out of there. All right. It is a set sequence, but it is not set in concrete. You can make changes, but you don't even have to if it's working. Let me tell you about my Forever series with the Disney cruisers. You remember my quick start guide, what to expect on your first Disney cruise. When they've completed that masterpiece, they have not received the entire wealth of my extreme Disney cruising knowledge. So on the very first Sunday, they get an email that is sent to everybody, no matter whether it's March or May or November. Email number 1 is always the same, and it is the most powerful Disney cruise tip I ever learned. Email number 2 is the packing list, what to pack, because everybody wants to know what to pack. Email number 3 is how to avoid getting seasick. Email number 4 is what happens on Disney's private island. You see where I'm going with this? I have picked those topics because those are the most important things, and they need to go in that order to be most effective. Now, we're going to talk more about this type of thing later, but I had, say, week 14 or so, 14 weeks in, 14 Sundays in, I had an email in my Forever series that was, do you need trip insurance? It was an affiliate play. And that email right there was making me enough money on this drip campaign to cover the cost of my list every single month. One email. Now, would that work if I did that? It's the very first email a new subscriber got. Why does that work? Because over 14 weeks, I have delivered really awesome, trustworthy content so that when it gets to week 14 and they say, well, Matt says I may need to think about trip insurance. He's been right so far. He's probably right on this too. Okay. That's the glory of creating a sequence of creating a Forever series. You are the one that understands your customer's journey best. You should be able to identify and preemptively answer their questions with your content. This graphic right here illustrates the reason I called my company Personalized Paths. Now, I since called my company Email Crush because Personalized Paths is both really long and really hard to say. Try it, Personalized Path. It just does not come out. Email Crush, much easier. But the reason I liked that name is because the main thing I loved about email is that we can create a journey for our audience. I did this in e-commerce too. Remember the Daily Deal website? The secret behind those Daily Deal websites is very infrequently were the deals actually new. Quite often it was the same stuff over and over again, and we had to figure out how to spin it. We would bring people onto our list, and I had a nurture sequence that helped me figure out or help me convert them faster. I had my top performing campaigns. At the time, we had one that was like top 20 under 20. For some reason, that was our best performing e-commerce campaign. And so we would give our top 20 sellers that were under 20 bucks, and those things would sell really, really well. And we did that because if we could get another purchase out of them or their first purchase out of them, they're more likely to pay attention to all the other emails. So that welcome sequence, if you will, went on for 10 emails. So when I got into blogging, I was like, you know what? I have 30 topics in Disney cruising. Why don't I just roll that out rather than me have to try to remember to send them, you know, what happens on pirate night, what happens, where to stand to see the fireworks, right? I just put it in the right order that makes sense. You have that too for every one of you. For my travel friends, we went through an example with Rosemary yesterday. For those that were that jumped off before it was over. And we were looking at the difference between general travel interest for Portugal versus fine wines in Porto. That's much more narrow. Somebody's going to Portugal first, wants to know generally why to go there. What are the big attractions? What are the local, the foods to eat? Where should I stay? What should my itinerary look like? There's a lot of stuff before you're into which wines do you need to. But is that wine one helpful? Absolutely, it is for the wine drinkers that have already made the decision to go to Portugal. It's just, do we lead with that? That's the question. So I was at it was actually at a Raptive conference many years ago. So this time, the statute of limitations is passed on me telling this story. But I was explaining this concept, and a food blogger said, I absolutely have to send my newest stuff. I can't send this stuff. Okay, let's go through that. I understand. I respect it. What was your last recipe? I mean, just on the cuff, I just asked her, what was the last last recipe that you sent? And she said, pineapple coleslaw. And I was like, all right, let me get this straight. Your newest subscribers have just joined your list. They don't know you and don't care about you. And the very first thing you're going to send them is pineapple coleslaw. When has anybody ever wanted pineapple coleslaw? I didn't say that. But you get the point. She'd been blogging for 10 years, a decade. And you're telling me that pineapple coleslaw was what she wanted to lead with for new subscribers? It makes no sense. What is it for you? What is the best of the best? Allow me to give you some Forever Series ideas. Well, let me show you some Forever Series emails, actually. I should have had this ready, but let me pull this up here. Because you'll find that writing a Forever Series email is an awful lot like, if you do it my way, an awful lot like writing the Quick Start Guide emails. All right, so what's one of my favorites? This is one of my favorites. Ambitious Kitchen has lots of recipes, over 2,000. And so what she did is she has a most popular make these first. This is early on in her Forever series. Today, I'm giving you the top recipes. They're all-time reader favorites. And to keep it simple, I'm going to share one from each category. So make these first: breakfast, lunch, dinner. These are evergreen. These topics work for any. Oh, sorry, there's a bunch of questions. My goodness, I apologize. See, I'm totally off my game here with this whole setup here. I'll get to your questions in a moment. So she's using this as a way to say, hey, social proof, social proof, social proof. Remember, we talked about that. Social proof is awesome. If you have it, use it. So this is just one way that she goes about that. You can also do, Sally does best year-round baking gifts. Okay. So she has a gifts page that she just keeps updated all year long. This is Growfully has must-have hand tools for gardeners. And no, these don't have anything to do necessarily with what the topic was for your quick start guide. Right? We're not trying to extend, 5 secrets to the perfect cookie. You can still share dinner recipes and crock pot recipes and air fryer recipes and stuff in your Forever series. People who bake also cook. Right? Sally, I'm a big fan of Sally. She was one of my earliest clients, and she grabbed this concept and she has run with it. She gets it. If you're in food and you don't follow Sally's email, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. Old favorites from the recipe archive. Why is that interesting to somebody? Because they're like, oh, hey, it's her favorites, and she's been doing this a while. I might have missed these recipes. I'm looking for some new inspiration. Maybe I'll find them from the recipe archive. It's just really interesting to me. You can also do things like my best work. Here's my best stuff. Maybe you just do roundups. 100 plus indoor activities. That's a little bit, it's cheating a little bit, right? But a lot of people still have that interest of, oh, indoor activity, that's kind of interesting. All right. So hopefully that gives you an idea or two. Let me answer the questions that I completely ignored. Sorry. This is what you move them to after the 5-day series. Yes, that is right. After they have, so the way that that works in the automation, for those of you who are using something like ConvertKit or MailerLite that work very similar to this, share my screen again, is that the rule set is that when they have completed this sequence and they're on the list, then add them to the Forever series. This way, they don't start getting the Forever series at the same time that they're getting the Quick Start Guide. Yeah, that's a good question. Can we have one recipe in on the Forever series? Yeah, you bet. You can do whatever you want. There's not really, so I'm gonna show you different examples. The tacos we're eating on repeat. So Sylvia focuses on these fish tacos, but then she also has, and serve these up with this. So she was trying to squeeze in some other recipes. That's just a different format. Lots of different ways to go about this. You saw with the garden toolbox, it's just one article. Sally was doing the same thing with her, you know, it's just a link to her roundup gifts page. In this case, this has got a lot more information in it, but she does Tessa does a specific method. All right, good questions. What do you do when the articles in your Forever series are seasonal? They probably don't belong in there, Olivia. So we'll talk about seasonal stuff in just a second. Do people get annoyed that they were added to these series when they originally signed up for the Quick Start Guide? My experience is no. My experience is that if they were interested in your Quick Start Guide, then they're interested in your content. But you can make it real easy for them to unsubscribe. People, it's not spam if you're offering value. The minute that you're not offering value to the target audience, why would that be? Because it's not targeted to them. Maybe you don't have the right segmentation. Maybe you're not solving the right problem. Maybe you're putting fluff out there that they don't care about. Maybe you're trying to cram pineapple coleslaw into their life when they don't want pineapple coleslaw. By the way, I was just going through this exercise yesterday with a client. We were looking at her Forever series. At this point, so she just started with me and she's written 25. And so we've got a few weeks in and we're seeing she did one that was related to chocolate cake, chocolate chip cookies. Guess what? Through the roof. Everybody clicked on it. Everybody wants that one. Then she did something else that was a little bit more obscure. Something in the seafood range. Now, people love seafood, but not everybody does. And so, look, I'm not telling you to never send a seafood email, but solve the broadest, biggest problem you can, and you will probably serve more people, and you will benefit from it too. Is this different from a welcome series? You may have noticed I don't do welcome series that much. My Quick Start Guides are my welcome series, 5 days in a row, 7 days in a row, 12 days in a row, 3 days in a row. And I'm introducing themselves to me primarily by solving a problem and becoming a subject matter expert, and then having little, nuggets in there about read more about me. This is how I came up with this, or that sort of stuff. But it's not the main thing is to give them content that serves them. So a Forever series, when they complete the Quick Start Guide, it rolls them into the Forever series, which I send 1 email per week, usually. Now, when do you send these? Go look at when you're going to read studies on the best time to send emails. Those are mostly bogus for you. Because what they're doing is a company like ActiveCampaign is taking all of their clients and they're going to go, they're going to take all of them and they're going to say, all right, we're seeing a slight statistical difference on Wednesdays than we are on Tuesdays. For you, though, your audience, Olivia touched on it earlier. And by the way, Olivia, I've experienced something similar. For Disney Cruise people tend to read stuff on weekends, and Sunday afternoons are great. Because I pontificate that is because they have time to dream a little bit. You know, they're relaxed a little bit, so now they're planning their vacations. So what is that for you? Well, if for my food friends, Friday night is pizza night, and you can't change that. I just quit sending emails on Fridays because amazingly, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, boom. People have time to bake, they have time to cook, they're going to Costco, they're going to Sam's Club, they're going to the grocery store, they're picking up. They're going to Cope if you're in Switzerland, and they have time to pick up their stuff. Sorry, I'm skipping all the questions. How about travel? If the Quick Start Guide is specific to Portugal, then we move them to a general inspiration. You kind of have to figure that out, Joe. It's a tough one with travel. That's what I've done. So in the case of Disney, for example, they finished the Disney cruise. Look, I'm a part-time, not even part-time. My blog is completely ignored and has been for 5 years. All right. I'm still getting Raptive eyeball money, and it's great, but it's just dying. But anyway, I've only got 30 some odd relevant and still current emails, articles that I could email about. So that's 30 weeks. However, these people have a general Disney interest. What I do with that after I complete it is I drop them into a Disney interest forever series. You need to decide what will work for you and your audience. But with travel, that is a tricky one, but that is the most common path. Is like if I'm headed to Houston and I need to know what to do in Houston, all right, then I might drop them into, you know, a United States travel inspiration series or something. I have a large number of subscribers who've been subscribers for 10 to 15 years. What's a suggested path for them? I picked them up if I was working with you, Heidi, and we were looking at your stuff and we created a Forever series, I would pick up all your subscribers and I would drop them in day number 1 of the Forever series. And they would start to get it too. They've been with you for 10 to 15 years, and that's amazing. The reality, though, is just with email math, this is just math, is a good open rate for anybody is like 50+%, right? But a good click rate is going to be in the 10% range. And most of us, if we're being honest, it's much less than that, especially if we're in food. So email math works like this. 90% of people never clicked on whatever you were pitching them in any given email. And on top of that, they do not remember whatever you sent them. They just don't. You do because it's your life and passion and you're so into it up to your neck, but they don't. You can so this is a sidebar, but hear me on this. This may be the most important tip all of you hear from me out of all of this. You can reuse your existing stuff. When the Super Bowl comes around every single year, a former client of mine, Rachel from Rachel Cooks, sends me the exact same email every year. 7 super snacks for the Super Bowl. And every year it's right in time with when I need the sliders and the buffalo chicken dip and so on. I'm not mad at her. In fact, I don't even remember, except I'm in email and I remember. Nobody else remembers. And if they remember, they don't care because it hits them at the right time. You can resend the same stuff over and over and over again. With my Disney stuff, I do it all the time. My Black Friday Disney deals is the exact same email. I'm just editing and we'll get into this with affiliate stuff, but I'm editing my page and I'm sending the exact same email. Here are the deals I found. Same email. I sent them the exact same email last year. I guess you could, yeah, exactly. Are we talking 52 weeks of the Forever series and then phase them into seasonal? Ari, here's my logic on this, and I may be faulty on this. I understand. Let's say new subscriber comes in and you send them 5 emails, 5 Forever series emails, and they open all 5. On week 6, are they going to magically remember to come back to your website? Probably not, even though they would have probably opened email number 6 in the Forever series. That logic, in my feeble brain, holds true whether it's week 5 and 6, week 15 and 16, week 56 and 57. So my point there is your Forever series, and quite often I get asked how many emails should be in a Forever series, and I chuckle a little bit because it's in the name. It could go on forever. Now, I have many clients that loop it and start over. for the same reason I was just talking about with Heidi, is that they don't remember. Or they tried it once and they appreciate the recommendation. Now it's trickier for those of you who are doing travel specific, right? I know I have a couple of you. However, it's still generally true for the inspiration pieces and how to use the Hyatt ecosystem of points. Because I maybe not be on Hyatt just today. I may be building up Hilton points, but now the Hyatt points might make sense to me because I have maxed out with Hilton or whatever, right? So even in travel, this generally holds true. Danae says, I noticed on one of your emails, the big unsubscribe button, I think at the top. When should we do that? Okay, I learned this a long time ago. Never be afraid of the unsubscribes. Encourage it, invite it. You don't want people for deliverability purposes and for cost that don't belong on your list. If they want out, the worst thing that they could do is hit the spam button. We don't want that. We do not want complaints. The second worst thing is that they go cold because our ratios of opens impacts the deliverability metrics. Gmail, believe it or not, they see that stuff and they keep track of it. It's very, very sophisticated how that all works. So invite them to unsubscribe. And especially with the deliverability things. If you're Postmaster tools, I won't have any time to go into Postmaster tools. In fact, there's no, for those of you who sign up for email and autopilot and then come into the email and autopilot Facebook group, you will see the interview I did with Alyssa from ConvertKit. And she doesn't talk about ConvertKit specifically. She talks about Google Postmaster tools. It's worth a watch. Sorry, you have to be in that group in order to get it, but all y'all qualify for that. Anyway, don't even remember my point. What was I talking about? Postmaster tools, unsubscribes. You start to watch your sender reputation in there. How do you balance Forever Series and RSS emails? Right now, my email list is just RSS. I've new posts. When someone gets on my list, should they start getting RSS of their choice and then do a Forever Series concurrently? Yeah, good question, Ann. And that's going to be totally up to you and how aggressive you are. I have some clients that send an email every day and they're just fine with it, and their audience is just fine with it. In food, you can probably do that easier than my travel friends, for example, just simply because people eat a lot. So yeah, you could totally do that. In travel, could you do something like if you've ever vacationed at Disney, here's some additional places you'd like to travel? Absolutely. 100%. 100%. That's a really smart move, I think. How complicated is it technically to set up a seasonal Forever Series? Emails that go out. Okay. I get this question a lot, and frankly, I don't quite understand it. I'm just being honest. For example, let's say that you have at the end of the year, you have a New Year's recipes or New Year's party thing. If you sent it one time, if you're using something like ConvertKit, MailerLite, or MailChimp, all you have to do is go into that email, right-click on it, hit duplicate, and set the date that you want it to go again. It's really hard in all of those platforms to try to get a sequence to match up to exact dates. Some people have figured it out, but I don't even bother. It is just not worth the hassle. It doesn't take that long. If we're talking about 52 emails, to go reschedule them if you have exactly 52 emails, hit right click, duplicate, change something, schedule it, send it. That'll take you an afternoon and do it one time. So the answer, Ann, was it's in my world, I've seen it be very complicated. And it's not worth, for me, it's not worth that complication. How many Forever Series is too much in 1 week? I have audience tags that might overlap and get multiple. That's going to depend on your content. And Olivia, in your case, I guess it depends on those groups. If they signed up for it, meaning like they know they're going to get multiples, then you're probably fine. I would try to, my trick on that is that like my cruisers get their Forever Series on Sundays. My general Disney interest people are going to get theirs on Tuesdays. So I try to break that up a little bit.
Okay,
You're
that's
getting
what I
into-
currently do.
Yeah, you're getting into some kind of next level stuff there, but
Oh, sorry.
no, it's totally fine. And my experience has been that it can actually get a little bit, you're like, wait, what goes out when? And I, I actually created a
Mhm.
spreadsheet that was like, okay, this goes on this day and this goes on this day, just to, because I would set it and literally forget it.
Okay.
Danae asked, what's a good number of recipes to send weekly in the Forever series? And I happen to know Danae is in food. So specifically for food, generally speaking, roundups perform better than single recipes. This is generally speaking, not always. You saw what Sylvia did there with the fish tacos. But you could also do it's Taco Tuesday and then have your 5 or 10 favorite taco recipes. The reason that holds true for me is, let's say you're sending out a cookie email and you're talking about my most popular cookies of all time, which would be a great Forever series topic, everybody. There's a free one. You might have in there, you might have snickerdoodles, you might have chocolate chip, and you might have oatmeal raisin. Now, I might like chocolate chip and you might like oatmeal raisin. Now, you'd be wrong, but we should cater to that and have variety in there. The problem that we're solving is cookies, and the best cookies, and it just so happens that oatmeal raisin is the one that you like best, and I like the chocolate chip cookie. Okay, but seriously, raisins and cookies, evil. I'm not sure. I'm not. Was that Darth Vader might have put that into play? I'm not even sure. Forever series is only evergreen, and then send holiday. This is a good transition, Amy. Why don't we transition over to talking about the seasonal broadcasts? Okay, so over here, I've tested this. The best time to send Thanksgiving recipes is, in fact, in November. And so dropping that into a Forever series, probably not the best move. Thanksgiving recipes in March doesn't make a lot of sense. So, and there's seasonality to everything that we're doing. And in fact, your seasonal stuff will outperform your evergreen stuff. So you got to take this with remember the email guy here is trying to talk about a general program that anybody could do. In some cases, the seasonality matters so much that it doesn't make sense to send the Forever series. I'll give you an example of that. I have a lot of people who have a lot of holiday content. My crafters, for example, there's a certain time of year where there's a lot of holiday content. It just makes so much more sense to pause the Forever series and send 2 seasonal emails. Now, how do you pause a Forever series? Well, that's going to depend on your platform. Some platforms, it's literally a pause the automation button. In ConvertKit, which I use, you simply go into the settings where it says which days of the week do you want it to go, and you uncheck every day of the week. So it's just not sending. Okay, so pause your Forever series during your peak times that are seasonal, of course, but it's a great thing to just be running all the rest of the time, right? Anyway, so back to the seasonality stuff. It's the same as the Forever series. Everything is literally the same. It's just I happen to be sending Easter emails right now, and the first part of May, you might send, I don't know, Cinco de Mayo or Mother's Day stuff, and when you get to the 4th of July, you know what to do, right? So that's why I don't spend a ton of time on that. Actually, no, there's one more thing. I totally forgot. I have a resource for you. One of you might find this useful. Hang on, let me make sure that this is it. Okay, down in the chat, you can come grab this if you'd like and make this your own. You hit File, make a copy. I will put the link for those that are watching the recording. I'll put the link in the Facebook group. Okay. Olivia, it's a manual reschedule. So what I've done here is I took the first Saturday. You pick your day of the week that you're going to send seasonal broadcasts. And then all you have to do is plug this in here. Like if I change this to be the 6th, it's going to change every other, whoop, it changed all of them all at one time. Nice and helpful. And then the idea here is, what's your reader thinking about? So often we get fixated on our newest stuff, but the reality is that that isn't that important to the reader. So if you're taking a reader-centric approach, which I believe that you should, like Rachel does at the Super Bowl time when she sends out that 7 super snacks for the Super Bowl, the question that nobody asks Rachel, to my knowledge, is, Rachel, when did you originally publish this salsa? Who cares? They don't care if it was 10 minutes ago or 10 years ago. And if that's the case, are you delivering what's best for your audience? Now, you're getting back to that rescheduling discussion. When you have a document like this, you know what you did. You can drop in, this is obviously for food related, but it could be, if you're doing roundups of any type, you drop in the articles or guides in here, Valentine's Day crafting projects, project 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So this is a bunch of nonsense filled out by me. For you, we're staring at April in the face. My homework assignment for you is download this and go fill out your topics, what your reader is thinking about for the next 3 months. And then what problem can you solve? Memorial Day, can you solve that problem with barbecue, picnic, and family crowd-friendly stuff? And then what would that be? Boop, 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 boop. Fill that out. Seasonality is more important for some of us than others. You know what? And the seasonality is going to be different. Manali, in your case, is holy something that needs to be in here? Is
Yes. Yep. I'm already I don't have the Forever series, but I'll be sending a holy email this week because it's on my
exactly. And Deepavali, when that
for my blog.
right. So stuff like that makes a lot of sense for somebody here. So you just need to modify this for your purposes. Okay. Any questions on Forever series, seasonal? This, by the way, y'all are just killing it with the questions. I love it. Thank you. Do you recommend affiliate programs for kitchen items, gardening, travel, so that we can sign up for it, include links and those in our emails to make money? I do recommend affiliate. I'm going to talk about affiliate a lot on Friday. A lot on Friday. Okay. Let's talk about what I don't want to talk about. Pop-ups. This is my least favorite conversation with this whole thing. Now I'm going to tell you something else too. Single versus double opt-in. You can probably tell by my haircut that I'm something of a rebel. I don't ever do double opt-in anymore unless I have to. Everybody and their dog is going to tell you that you should, or that you have to, and that is not true. ConvertKit themselves, even through all their published stuff, they say they even have the dangers of single opt-in or whatever. When you talk to their deliverability experts, they're like, no, single opt-in is fine. Why? What's that? Okay, Lucy, good question. You do need to cater to GDPR. All right, so in that particular case, but you don't necessarily have to do single versus double opt-in to do it. In fact, for you in particular, if you want an email and autopilot, you can go see an alternative method about how I do how I handle GDPR. Basically, the thing with GDPR is that they have to give us explicit consent to send them stuff. So if they sign up for a quick start guide pop-up, for example, they're giving us explicit consent to send them that, but not everything else. And so I have a process that skips the double opt-in and asks for that after I deliver the quick start guide. I don't know if that's right or wrong. I mean, there's nothing illegal about that, but my experience has been that once they've consumed the content, they're more likely to say, yeah, keep me on the list. Then with double opt-in, what inevitably happens is it just goes into that promo tab and important, confirm your subscription. They're like, I didn't subscribe to anything. I don't need this. And they're doing, sweeping deletes. And the reality is, if you sent them the email, they'd probably read it because it has the right headline and the stuff that they were interested in. They just they're not paying attention. You all have seen it, the number of unconfirmed. So my answer to that is grow your list fast, but prune it just as fast. Okay. Yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can do it. And by the way, CAPTCHA is another thing that is in place now to protect us more in that situation. All right. let's talk about pop-ups. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. First of all, let's talk about things that aren't pop-ups. You've seen this before. Slickstream has something called Highlighter. You are going to, I'm not going to be able to give you, I don't have specific instructions in my course. So you need to ask or read up on the Raptive site or ask your Raptive rep to point you to the Slickstream highlighter instructions. But what this does is you're scrolling down and then you've got your form. It's not a pop-up, it's graying out everything else for a moment as you're passing it. And this is true both on mobile and on desktop. And so I like the name that OptinMonster has for their feature. I think they're the first ones I ever saw it on. And then, there's other companies that do it, including another ad network that, does it a certain way. But attention activation, because you're like, oh, I gotta pay attention to this. So that's very, very effective. Slickstream also has built-in lead capture features through the save this article, save this recipe, that little heart thing that you can do. When you're doing that, think through the user experience. Once they have saved a recipe, the thing I've discovered with Slickstream is it's not intuitive to me on how to find that article or that recipe later. You can give them those instructions through a simple set of emails. So if they come in through Slickstream and they saved something, maybe create a sequence that's like, here's how to find your saved thing in the future. Here are my top 10 saved resources. This is what everybody else is saving or something like that. And you can use that to, trigger it with people that they did save it in that moment. It can be very effective for those that want to build up their own resource library of your articles or recipes. So definitely do that. Other folks, to be clear, I did not work with Heidi on this at Foodie Crush, but she uses this tool called Interact. Yeah, that's an affiliate program. Of course it is, Matt. What a shill. But yeah, you should be doing that too, by the way, if you're not. But it's a quiz software that if you want to think through, in some cases, quizzes will outperform everything because it's really high engagement. And it can be very fun too. If you don't make it a tedious thing, you can make it fun. Maybe it's, where do you want to travel? An inspirational quiz like that might be fun, or things, what if I'm putting together an itinerary for you for Greece, what are the things you're most interested in? And so if you ask just a handful of questions, and then it'll spit back to them the results and drive them to different pages or posts on your website. And at the same time, it has a lead capture component to it as well. All right, so pop-ups. There are two main reasons that people are avoiding pop-ups, and I understand both reasons. The first reason is that they're annoying. Nobody likes the user experience, and I talked about this briefly the other day, but I'll talk about it again. The second reason is that they're fearful of Google creating some sort of penalty. So this conversation, the reason I don't like having this conversation is because I do not want you to go sick some sort of SEO expert on me. There's one in particular who's very dogmatic about this particular point, and I really do not want to get on his bad side. He actually sends me business. However, I completely disagree with his assertions. So let's go through them. First of all, the annoying part. Just to recap what I said the other day, it is annoying if somebody comes to Disney Cruise Tips, lands on my website, and the very first thing they get is it says, sign up for Disney Cruise updates. Like, I'm trying to get the tips. Get that on my face. If I consume the content and I'm like, okay, this is really, insightful and well done tips. And then at the right moment, maybe 15 seconds in or about 50% of the way down the page, I get a pop-up that says what to expect on your first Disney cruise. That's not annoying. That's actually helpful. So my answer to the annoying thing is just don't be annoying. Don't do those annoying things. Be as super relevant as you can. Allow people to engage with your content before you show them the pop-up. And we'll talk about the sizing of the pop-up here in just a second, because that's also very important. I really don't want to get into the Google penalty part. What I will tell you though is that pop-up, I'll answer the question now. Pop-up triggering on exit is a common thing a lot of people go to, but it'll get you almost nothing. It just doesn't work for two reasons. Number one, they're usually checked out and they're on their way, so it doesn't actually stop them if it even shows. And most of the time it never shows because mobile has no real way of figuring out if they're leaving, and most of your traffic is mobile. So it just doesn't even really work. You can feel free to try it and then, prove me wrong, but I don't think you will. Back to the Google part. So what most people are concerned about is that there's this line in some guidelines that says that you should avoid intrusive interstitials. All right. So an intrusive interstitial, and then they don't give very good guidance on what that means. Why? Google does not want to be the pop-up police. They just don't. Because you're starting to see that there are 8,000 different email softwares that have different pop-up ways of doing it, that interact differently with every WordPress plugin in the world. Some use PHP, some use JavaScript, some have load a certain speed, and right? I mean, just that alone is overwhelming. Do they want to police everything related to pop-ups? You have to go back in time to what was the motivation of that. That line was inserted in 2016. What was happening in 2016? Well, we were 2 years removed from the pivotal time when traffic switched from desktop to mobile experiences. And by the way, the intrusive interstitial comment is specific to mobile devices. So, what was happening? Do you remember back in 2014, Hotwire or Forbes had these overlays? Those were the biggest ones that would take over the entire screen. And those were annoying. And you couldn't get past it. And on mobile, it was disastrous. So basically what they're saying is, stop it. And so they put out there that there would be possibly technical penalties. There is the possibility that you could get a technical penalty if you do it wrong. None of my clients have ever had that by doing what I'm about to explain to you. Okay? So Raptive does things the exact same way I do. Both myself and Raptive would not flourish in this business if my clients were getting Google penalties. All right. I can't guarantee that it'll never happen to you. It just hasn't happened to me or any of my clients that I know of yet in doing this for 6 years. So I don't really know. You see why I don't want to go fight with an SEO in public? Because I have watched all of the videos from Google and tried to figure out, okay, if you do this, it triggers that. And I've just come to the conclusion that they don't want to police it. And they're just saying, provide a good customer experience. That's the general gist of it. Okay. And you can almost do anything you want on desktop. It's mobile that matters the most because that's how most people are consuming your content. So don't do these things. Don't make overlays on phone that cover your content completely. You'll notice that when I do a pop-up, it's very seldom more than 1/3 of the whole screen space. You also want to make it really easy to close it. In some cases, that little X is impossible to find. Have you ever seen that? You're like, I don't know where to click. Well, you should be able to click anywhere around it and make that X big and prominent. Not that we want our X's to be prominent in our lives, but in this case we do. Don't make it hard to interact with your content. All right, so and then don't show a pop-up first thing upon arrival. Allow them to engage. You can either wait a certain amount of time. Again, I'm doing 10 to 15 seconds. That's what I do. You can do longer if you want to feel more comfortable. You'll get more subscribers the more aggressive you are. That's just how it is. Or you can do by scroll. I used to do by scroll. The challenge was that I had a lot of clients that they had been around, like, I don't know, like maybe in your case, Heidi, you've got comments. And so if you want to do the 50% thing, you would have to be down through 100 comments before it ever triggered. So I ended up doing time on post. So I made that switch. And then lastly, don't show pop-ups that a user isn't likely to care about. All right. Do you recommend having pop-ups that are specific to different pages? Yes, absolutely. The more relevant. It's all about your existing traffic is your best source of list growth. That person's visiting you today has something on his or her mind. And if you can match that up with your opt-in, in the case of Rosemary, she wants to match up the Portugal people to the Portugal people. And Joe wants the Greece people to get the Greece thing. And she wants the London people to get the London thing, right? Is there a way to show pop-ups to people who are not already subscribers? Yeah, sort of. The challenge is that your bounce rates don't really speak that way. Your bounce rates would argue that, you know, your return rate isn't super high. But anyway, if you wanted to cater to those people, a lot of the software has that built in, but it doesn't know based off of email address. It knows based off of cookied sessions. So if they're on desktop and then they go to mobile, they're going to see it on mobile and vice versa. So it might show it to them accidentally again. So the way I work around that is I just make the setting so once you've seen the pop-up, you don't see it again for a certain amount of time. And usually it's 30 days is what I usually do. All right, let's see some examples. Now, if you use any of the all the platforms, Flowdesk, MailChimp, MailerLite, ConvertKit, ActiveCampaign, Constant Contact, they all have built-in pop-up software. You have to decide if you like it. I, for years, would not touch the ConvertKit pop-ups because they would not allow me to make a different experience on mobile versus desktop. It was terrible. I finally figured out some CSS and one that I could get to work. And so now I do almost all my pop-ups on ConvertKit with that one template. I won't do any other. It's called the Poplar template. And for those of you that are on ConvertKit, if you want to know how I do that, and because I don't like it out of the box, I modify it with my own CSS. I had to pay a dude to teach me the CSS to make it look the way that I wanted. So you get the benefit, if you like that, of stealing my CSS, at least as a baseline. That's in the course, Email and Autopilot. There's a little section in there, I couldn't tell you where, off the top of my head, on how to create a pop-up in ConvertKit. All right, so that's for the ConvertKit people. However, there may be reasons that you want to use a different pop-up. And I think somebody asked something like this in the Facebook group. One of the ones that I've used historically is ConvertPro. ConvertPro is a good starter, all right? It has a plethora of limitations. Again, all of these are affiliate links that I'm going to share with you. But I just want you to have some options. ConvertPro will cost you less than $100 a year. It's a reasonably fast software, and you can see the big red X on there, and you can make pretty-ish opt-ins with different fonts and things. You're not as limited as, say, what ConvertKit might do on design. It has a funky design element to it. Okay, so I just tell you, if you do get ConvertPro, watch my my tutorial in the Email and Autopilot group, and it walks you through how to set it up. The thing that stinks about ConvertPro is I've never been able to get the stats to work right. So I couldn't tell you conversion rates very well. But for those of you who are on looking at this from a budget perspective, but you don't like your free one that comes with whatever your platform is, you might try this. It also has other things in there with ConvertPro, info bars that go at the top, the slider swoopy thingies. I think that's the technical term for it. There's lots of different things that you can do. OptinMonster. This is the one that Raptive recommends the most. And I would too, except that it's the most expensive out of all of these. In some cases, because it's based off of page views, some of you will have to take out a second mortgage to afford OptinMonster, but it is the big granddaddy of opt-in software. It's been around a long time. It has lots of great options, tons of templates, really cool if you want to get advanced tracking and features. If you're in e-commerce at all, you might want to consider it because it really lends itself to people who have an e-commerce budget, and want to pay for that. So OptinMonster, here's some examples of OptinMonster. OptinMonster Nice, clean, but tons and tons of layouts, just lots of them. Here's just a couple. They have that attention activation thing that does. And then ConvertBox. ConvertBox is my favorite platform specific option. And the reason for that, three main reasons, I guess. One, super clean interface, super clean setup. And two, I guess it's only two, is the A/B testing is so simple. I love it. I love the A/B testing. You get to test anything on here, and they make it so simple to create different variations. You basically hit a button, it makes a copy, and then you change something, and you can do it again, change something else, and then it'll ask, how do you want the traffic to be split? And then you send it out, and then you figure out, what wins based off of your engagement metrics of choice. Like I found with this pop-up, I'm showing my family here because I'm vain. And this is the tannest my legs have ever been. But the reality is that this image doesn't win. The image that wins is the one of just the ship. I blame my children, not me, but I blame my children. If they were more attractive, maybe it would have worked. So anyway, real simple. You can see what it looks like on mobile. Remember I was talking about how to make a mobile pop-up that is so dang compressed, I guess. Just real basic stuff here, but that's ConvertBox. ConvertBox is a little bit more expensive, a lot more expensive. I think but it's a one-time licensing, and you're gonna be out $500. You can apply it to different sites. If you have multiple sites, you can use it on different sites. All right, that's our discussion right at 2 minutes over on pop-ups. Got through it. Nobody will come back tomorrow because we had to talk about pop-ups. I apologize. Speaking of tomorrow, we're going to get into the making money part. All right. I know that's why you're really here. All this other blah, blah, blah. Well, let's get to how we actually make money. So tomorrow we're going to get into, we got 2 full days where I open up the fire hose and I blast you with as many ideas as I can think of, things that I'm seeing in the space, stuff that I've done personally to give you ideas on how to make money with email. And it will have to be a lot of different ideas, and some of them aren't going to be applicable to you, but some might. Some of you are doing e-commerce. Some of you are doing coaching. Some of you are doing community stuff. Some of you want to do affiliates and some don't. Some want to do ads in emails, some don't. We're going to talk about all of that and some other cool whiz-bang tricks. All right. Any questions I can answer before we say goodbye tearfully? No, let's save our tears for Friday. All right, we can make it through this. Anybody?
I just asked in the chat. I just switched to Cadence and as my theme, and I noticed that it has pop-up blocks and subscribe forms, and they look quite attractive. Is there a reason why I would not use those and use either ConvertKit or one of the other service providers that you've just mentioned?
I've never set those up myself, so I couldn't give you an answer there, Lucy. There are truly dozens and dozens of ways to accomplish this. And if they have it built in and make it simple for you, I would lean towards that for sure. Now, if you look at it and you're like, I don't like the functionality, I don't like the stats. And let me make this point. So I may have mentioned, I have for a very specific group of people, I do done for you list growth services, which means that I'm switching out lead magnets every month, and there are different pop-ups and different forms and things. Conversion rate is everything to me. I'm going through this right now. I have clients where their traffic in February was higher than it is in March, and it was higher in January than it was in February, just because they were healthy blogging or whatever. And so their total raw number of subscribers looks like it's down month over month, but they are converting at a higher rate of the eyeballs to signups. You follow? So I didn't pay as much attention to that as I should have for many years. So if you don't know your conversion rate, it's hard to compare apples to apples. You might go, oh, Thanksgiving time, I'm crushing it. Well, yeah, you're getting 8 billion page views at Thanksgiving time, and then you're not in March. Your conversion rate may actually be lower, probably not. but you want to know that. That was
Okay, thank
not
you.
answer your question at all, Lucy. So your questions I don't answer. All right. Anybody else have a question? All right. Okay. If you haven't launched, go launch. If you like this Forever Series idea, go write your first 5 Forever Series. You can do it. Think of your greatest hits. Think most popular, most viewed. Tools I can't live without. Evergreen content like that. And then if you're a recipe blogger, think chocolate and cookies. Just, it's a good idea. And then build out your broadcast calendar. Come on, we can do this. If you have not been consistent like you have been, like you wanted to be in the past, then now's the time. A Forever Series email once a week, a broadcast email once a week. Let's go. Let's make this happen. Let's serve our audience and get them to fall in love with us. Let's get those clicks back. Let's have those cookied. We're going to, tomorrow, I forgot to mention, tomorrow we're going to spend a decent amount of time on newsletter ID from Raptive. So I'll walk through that too. All right, we're out of here. See you tomorrow. Bye.